So Walmart Spark made a huge mistake. It all started after I posted a video recently and I got this comment by GigTube that he had randomly got a 43-cent payment for Spark the other day and he hadn't done Walmart Spark in 2 weeks. So where did this money come from and why did he get it? And this reminded me of an email that I just briefly glanced at earlier in the day. Earlier that day, I had gotten an email from Spark saying that there was a system error that impacted your earnings and we've made it an adjustment that'll be showing on the 16th or something like that. What was I to expect before I got that adjustment? So of course I checked into the app and I see what I got from Spark. I just got a couple cents. It was like, I don't know, 30 or 40 cents. And so this got me interested in to see like what was the community's experience? Were they getting these payments and what did their experience look like? So I made this community post and I never expected all the information that I would get back in the comments. So first off, the amounts varied widely. I got a small amount and some people got some much larger amount. I'm talking about I got cents and other people got dollars. GigTube got 43 cents. Somebody mentioned getting 3 cents. I got a couple of cents myself. And then on the other side of the coin, there was somebody else who got over $20. So make sense out of that, if you will. And that person that got the over $20 mentioned that they thought maybe it was just an accumulation of that wait time, the extra earnings that Spark says they're going to give to you, but nobody ever really finds. And this person hadn't noticed. And so they had wondered maybe this was all those extra earnings, but it was way more than they should have gotten or would have expected in that scenario. So nobody knew exactly why we were all getting these extra earnings, which I'm sure is exactly how Walmart Spark wanted it, clear as mud. People had reached out to support and support had no idea what they were talking about. Support was asking people to send screenshots of the email. People mentioning that they got tips reduced the week prior, but not by that amount, thinking maybe that was a Walmart error in reducing the tips, but that didn't add up. People even mentioned a glitch from the Monday in the previous week or prior in that same week where people apparently weren't getting tips from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. and wondered if it was part of fixing that error. And in my mind, it would make sense if they were making up or trying to fix a recent system glitch or system error, but that absolutely was not the case. It turns out that the glitch that they were making up for goes back much further. I noticed comments saying that they got paid money from this glitch and they stopped working for Sparks months ago, and things continued to get even more interesting as I continued to get more comments and read through them. People mentioning that they got payments even though they're deactivated. People mentioning that they got payments even though they've been deactivated for multiple months. But once again, why? Now, before I dig into that deeper, if you're getting value from this video, do me a favor and give it a like. And if you want to see more content like this, be sure to subscribe to the channel as well. So people on some of my other recent videos and on Reddit have mentioned comments about Spark stealing tips. People have said that they've done tests where they've had their spouse or a friend make an order from Walmart Spark. They've put an amount in the tip, and then when that friend or spouse got that order and delivered it, they got a different amount tipped. Now, more information on why that may have been in a second, but people were saying that they also hear this from customers too. Customers were saying they put a tip in the app or putting a tip amount in the app, and then when that person was delivering it, they got a $0 tip. And you know, the customer swore they tipped them in the app, but of course, customers could be lying about that. Now, I don't have proof of either of these things. They can both entirely be things that people are making up. But one thing that I do have proof of is that a couple of months ago, I got this email from Spark and I made a post about it once again with the community about how Spark admits that they will split tips. So if I make an order, for example, and half of it gets delivered today and half of it gets delivered tomorrow, and I tip $50, 25 is going to the first guy, 25 is going to the second guy. In theory, or at least that's how it's supposed to work according to Spark. But what if that second order is the .com order and it's an item that doesn't get a tip? Does all of my tip just go to the first person, or does the system know that they don't split the tip there? Or does the system not even realize until after the fact that they're not splitting the tip the next day? For example, this is something that happened to me very recently. I had ordered some boxers and they apparently didn't have them in store. So the next day I got a text saying, hey, this isn't in store, we'll have this sent to you tomorrow. And then the next day I got a text saying, hey, this is being sent to you through walmart.com. Expect to get this in a couple of days, or like in 24 to 48 hours, or however long walmart.com shipping takes. Now, using that example, I mean, we can assume Walmart knows what's happened and that it's smarter but they are making up for something. We do know that. And the other thing we know is that it's a mistake that couldn't just be swept under the rug without doing something about it. Because I promise you, if they could have just swept this under the rug without paying us a cent, that would have been option number one. So the one thing we do know is that it was something notable. And even if we can't diagnose the disease, by looking at the symptoms, here's 3 things that immediately I recognize and are staring me in the face. The recent changes from the Department of Labor, number 1, that made it easier to reclassify gig workers as employees. Now, nothing has come of this yet, but when you open floodgates like that, you definitely cannot expect to stay dry. Which leads me directly to number 2, the case in Washington I recently talked about, where the ex-Walmart Spark driver is suing Spark that they're misclassifying them as independent contractors and they should be classified as employees. Now, with the recent change to the Labor Department rules, this makes this case easier to win theoretically for the gig worker suing Walmart. I mean, it essentially works in tandem with the Labor Department changes and gives the upper hand to Walmart's opponents. And the thing is, although they're suing for these rights and they're suing to be classified as employees in Washington, number 3, these benefits are already in place for Walmart Spark drivers in Seattle, Washington, where the law changed this year recently to be very similar to New York and California with the minimum wage law, and they're paying per mile, etc. So with that ordinance passed and giving a minimum wage, they're essentially given paid wait time, since wait time is part of active time and they're paid for all active time. In addition to that, they're also given I think like sick time or something of that nature as well. And pretty much a bunch of the stuff that they're suing for in the Washington state case is basically already in place in Seattle. And basically, by having it already in place in Seattle, Walmart can't really say, but we can't do that. We don't have the resources to do that. We're already doing that, and you've already showed that you have the ability to make it happen. Now, of course, I want to cap this with the fact that Walmart always has the option to just close all the stores in that location. I mean, they've closed all the stores in Portland, Oregon. They've closed the stores in numerous parts of Chicago with bad crime and theft and shoplifting. And if they decide that in this new Washington state or wherever these rules are going to be placed, that they're going to lose money, Walmart just may close the stores there because they've done it before. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, for Walmart, losing 50 million is always better than losing 150 million. So at the end of the day, what's the bottom line? Well, basically, with all the litigation and legal challenges coming up against Walmart, they're trying to get their house in order. They're preparing to potentially go to court. They're preparing to potentially being audited. They're preparing for people to potentially take that magnifying glass, that flashlight, and tell them to cough a couple times while they go through the books. And especially with gig worker minimum wage laws and regulation expected to grow further with this year being an election year, and people likely proposing those laws and statutes on the groups in other states as we continue to go further, just in the history of gig work in general, Walmart apparently has enough information to decide that they should be proactive and just leave some money on the dresser for us. Now, if it were up to Walmart, and I think most Spark drivers as well, we would all remain independent contractors. Now, this happens to be what makes Walmart Spark the most money, but this is also the main thing that I think most gig workers value from driving for Walmart Spark and the other gig apps, which is independence, freedom, and the ability to make your own schedules and work whatever times you want to. Most gig workers don't want to be on a schedule, and that's the biggest reason they don't want to become employees. They don't want to lose that freedom and flexibility. Now, don't get me wrong, I would like to get paid more. I do think Walmart Spark should be raising our prices, not lowering it. And when it comes to the government getting involved, the government is saying that that's what they want to help us with. The government is saying, I want to help you make more money. But for those of us that are a little bit older, we know that those are the 9 most terrifying words in the English language.
I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
Now, if you want to learn more about the lawsuit that Walmart is facing and why they're taking things so seriously and how this lawsuit may pose an existential threat to Walmart Spark drivers that like being independent contractors, then watch this video now.